different offices. And of course, you know, when we got to pick the tour, right, when they said, hey, we're doing a tour, we're going to go to different offices, they're like, which one do you want to go to? And I was like, I'll go to Hills. Only because I feel like I have a close relationship with all the leaders here. You know, all through the years, I've been back in California for about 7 years. I'm going to tell you guys my story. And even before that, I was able to develop relationships with every single SMD. And I want to tell you guys, you have a world-class office and world-class leadership here. You may not know it because sometimes if you don't get out of your office, then you don't know what else is out there, right? You guys already, I think, feel that way about Christopher, yes? Yeah. Christopher's like everybody's big brother in the business, and I wouldn't dare say dad, right? Yeah, I know better, right? He's like everybody's big brother. He's always there, like, for guidance. You call him when you just want that same thing. You know, somebody's going to tell you, like, the rational thing to do, and just such a great family man, such a great example. And there's so many more leaders. I was looking across, I was asking Lori, where's Steve and Carol at, right? I was hoping to see them, and I've just been able to be friends with it. You guys imagine having Dean, Steve, Lori, right, Jim, like, you guys have Ricky, he's not here tonight either, and then you have Carol and Steve who have, like, history in WFG. Like, you guys know they're, like, famous, right? They have history, and then Christopher, I mean, I can't think of a better office to be in, and they know how to have fun, too. Yeah. Professional, but they know how to have fun. So I hope you guys know how blessed you are. I can't stress that enough, right? Don't take your leadership for granted. One thing you will realize is it's not always going to be like this, right? Meaning, when I started in the business, we had Christopher in the office, we had Dan in the office, right? We had all these leaders in the office, and then it changed. And you think you have as much time as you want to get it going in the business, but they go out and open up their own offices, and they move to different cities, and they go and expand. You got to take advantage while they're here. Some of you are right next door to Christopher, and you don't even take advantage of it, right? Imagine. It's going to be like you're going to watch these guys go out and do such big things, and you're going to be like, one day, I was in the office with them. I was right next door to them, right? So I really don't want you guys to take it for granted. So how many of you guys know who I am? Can I see a show of your hands? Okay. How many of you have heard my story? A couple of you? Okay, cool. I don't recognize a lot of people here, so I'm kind of excited about that. Because, you know, we kind of get sick of telling our story and, like, the same people all the time. Right? I don't know about you guys, but I kind of get sick of hearing from myself. So I want to tell you, I actually started in the business very, very different than probably a lot of you in here. I started when I was 22, so some people don't know this, some people do. But the way I got in this business was kind of in a way through Primerica, okay? So when I was 17, my parents got recruited into Primerica. This is in Colorado. And some people know this, some people don't. But my stepdad at the time said, hey, if you want to go out partying, which I love to do, still do, they said, if you want to go partying, then you're going to have to read a book before you're allowed to go out. And it was called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. So if any of you know me, you know I read that book that night, right? And I got pretty excited about being able to create my own future when it came to finances, because I had never heard of any of the concepts. How many of you guys have read this before? A couple of you? Well, imagine reading it at 17, right? I got the grasp of it. I didn't get it 100%. But when I read that book, it really changed my mentality. So imagine, okay, I'm 17, I had already moved out of my house, I graduated high school early, so I was already out living with friends, and I turned 18, I rented my first apartment. Actually, I turned 18, February 26th, March 1st, I signed my lease, right, for my apartment, as soon as I turned 18. And that day, my parents signed me up for Primerica, right? They paid for my AMA, they got me going, put me in licensing, which they shouldn't have done. I hope you guys know that. And I was actually getting ready to go to college, but at the time I was working full-time, going to school full-time. And I realized that, oh my gosh, there's other opportunities. Why am I going to college? Do you guys understand? When you read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, you're like, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? So I'm like, why did they tell me to go to college, but yet they have me reading these books, and what am I going to go to school for? So I ended up going to Colorado State University, and I was going to school for psychology. Or, no, was it communications? I don't even know what my major was. I'm like, was it? I don't remember, because I was like undeclared. I was one of those. And I actually got put on academic probation my first year because I never went to class. Right? I never went to class. I was in a sorority, and I was just all over the place. Kind of lost. And imagine, I got to read that book, and I was like, and the reason I was lost is because I didn't understand, why am I going here when this book tells me I don't need it? And then I read more books after that, between that time. So I read Cash Flow Quadrant, all before I was 20 years old. So I finally like buckled down and I was like, all right, I gotta get out of here. I gotta leave. My dream was to live in California, actually. I always wanted to have California license plates. Like that was my dream. Those white license plates, I'm very proud of those. So I went out and I was like, okay, well, what can I do that's a business? Because it says you should own a business. You guys know the cash flow quadrant. And the business that I thought would be fun, ladies, was fashion. Yes? I was like, oh, fashion, I could do that. What I wanted to do was boss people around in that industry. I didn't want to design anything because I have no technical skills. But I wanted to like hire somebody that could design the looks that I thought would be great, and then I could hire somebody else to make this stuff. Do you guys follow me? Well, there's a little bit of a challenge, right? I'm in Colorado, and all the fashion schools are where? On the East Coast or the West Coast? Mostly the East Coast, right? But I want to go to California, so I found a school called FITM. You guys might have heard of it. And I did all the applications and everything from Colorado. I set it up to have an apartment out here, but before I could get into the apartment, my uncle, he offered a place for me to stay, which was at his dance studio. Right? Not a lot of people get to hear this part of the story, right? So I slept on the studio floor for several months when I moved here because I didn't have a place to stay just yet, but he offered that to me, and I showered at the Y. And I actually went to school full-time, and then I transferred my work, and I worked for Bose. I used to sell speakers full-time, so I did both of those full-time. And by the time I moved into my apartment, I couldn't make it because it was $1,000 a month, okay? So I'm 20 years old at this point, and I'm paying $1,000 a month in rent, living on my own. And I'm like, what am I going to do, right? How am I going to get by? And I was really, really, really good at school this time. I actually focused, right? I did. I was actually a straight A student after that. Because something about signing your name to pay like student loans and all that stuff, you know, like you made you be straightened up a little bit. So I ended up doing a bunch of extra things on the side just to make extra money, right? Could anybody relate? I wasn't one of those spoiled kids, right? And I had already wasted a bunch of money at other schools, so what I did was I used to help my uncle with DJ work on the weekends. Some of you guys know him. He was our MC at Wealth Bowl was that last Wealth Bowl? You guys remember? Yeah. So anyway, I helped teach dance lessons. I did mystery shopping, right? That's a thing, right? I did that. What else did I do? I did every MLM you could think of. Amway. I did Creative Memories. I did Mary Kay. I kind of just did this stuff on the side because I needed something on the side to make that extra money so I could actually survive, right? But I had no life. And I actually was, I begged to get an opportunity, like totally different than most of you guys. I met somebody who knew somebody who was in this business, and I talked to him. Actually, we were having a party at my house, and he saw all these books on the shelf, and he was like, why are you reading all these books? What's inspiring you? And I was like, well, I want to own a business. Here I am thinking I'm a big shot, right? The bank's going to give me $1 million loan so I can actually run a manufacturing company, and he's like, okay, right? Kind of like probably every 20-year-old in LA with these crazy dreams. And so he's like, well, how are you going to get a loan? Like, I was like, well, I have like a little bit of money saved, which I didn't have much. I had like 10 grand, which was partially my 401k and some of my savings. And he's like telling me all this stuff, and he started creating doubt in my mind. And I want you to think about this from a recruiting perspective. I thought that I knew what I was doing because compared to everybody else, I was doing something, right? Compared to my friends and, you know, whatever. And so he tells me, well, how are you going to do that? And who's going to give you a loan? And how much money is it going to cost to run this company? So I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, crap, how am I going to do this, right? I just was in the grind of like, you know, doing my homework and going to school and just getting by. So I finally, I listened to him, and he said, you know what, why don't you come down to a meeting that we're having, and we'll tell you all about it. I said, what's the name of the company? We had a desktop computer, so I looked it up right then, right? I'm Googling it, and he's like, Rope Industry. I was like, this is so awesome. I literally loved the company because my only other experience with financial services was Primerica. And if you know Primerica, they offer what? Primerica, right? So I'm thinking, this is so cool because now I could be non-captive, which is the thing I didn't like about Primerica. So I felt like I won the lottery, right? I felt like I'd been discovered. You guys know what I'm talking about? I was like, you want to hire me, trust me, right? And that did not happen. His brother was his upline. So he calls his brother, and his brother's like, I'm not wasting my, she's 20 years old. What? No, I was 21, actually, which is even worse, right? I was 21 by that time, and he says, no, I'm not going to waste my time with her, right? Who's she, right? She doesn't have a market. She's from Colorado. She doesn't know anybody here. What's she going to bring to the table? Imagine your people, by the way, especially SMDs, because we're like, oh, did they grow up here? No, okay. They're 21. Oh, okay, right? You guys know what I'm talking about. So I don't have a market. I don't know people. And I'm 21 years old. So he's like, no, I'm not going to, no, you can't come to our meeting. So I said, okay. He says, you need to come down and meet with me one-on-one. And at the time, I lived in Echo Park area, and he wanted me to drive down to Pomona. But not to the office. I didn't even get invited to the office. I had to go to see him sing at a coffee shop. He's like, I'm singing at this coffee shop. Come down, you can watch me, and then we'll talk about the business after. I was like, okay, what are we gonna? This is Jason Marquez. I don't know. So I go there, and I'm like, all like, okay, right? I watch him. I'm like, maybe this is like some sort of mental toughness training, like wax off, you know, something like that. Which it wasn't, by the way. So then I waited. I talked to him after, and then he's like, yeah, you know, I don't know. I'm like, no. Let me tell you about me. So I'm literally trying to tell him why I'm this like unique 21-year-old. And it kind of worked, but he made me meet with him again, right? And we went to like Denny's or something, and my now husband, which was my boyfriend at the time, my now husband was with me, right? So it wasn't like that. I know you guys are thinking. So I would be thinking that too. But no, we were there, we were like selling ourselves, and finally he said I could go to BPM. Imagine, you guys, how bad I wanted this business, right? So I was like, okay, and then he says, it's Tuesday night. I'm like, crap, it's the one night I work, right? Because I go to school during the day and I work at night. So I was like, oh, it's okay, I'll send Ryan, okay? And my husband's like, all right, whatever, I'll go. And he's like so not about this, right, at the time. So he goes to BPM, he sees a BPM, he's not all that excited about it. He calls me, and I had told him before he went, I said, look, I think this is really cool. I said, just spend $1,000 each, but if they want more, call me, and I'll think about it, right? Because my husband delivered pizzas for a living, and in my opinion, he didn't understand a good business opportunity. He needed my opinion, right? That's what I told him. I said, you need to call me if it's worth $1,000 each. Wow. So he calls me. He's like, they want $100. He's like, what's this all about? My husband's like, from small town. He's like, no, this is a scam. I was like, no, dude. I was like, pay the $100. That's it. I was like, you gotta be freaking kidding me. And Ed Milet happened to be doing the meeting after the meeting that night. So once he went to meeting after meeting, he was fired up, if you can imagine, right? Yeah. But yeah, he said, pay the $100. We went in for our fast start. Still haven't been to a BPM at that point, right? I go in for my fast start. They're like, you need to pay for licensing in the state of California. You need to pay for your U4 so you can get your securities license. And you need to do that for both of you. And you need to register for convention. This is like April. Convention was in July. And I was like, all right. Right? I had already planned on doing $1,000 each. So I did it all at once. And then my first BPM was a fast start school. And I showed up to the fast start school with the guests. I didn't know what was going on. I was fired up and excited, right? And it was like the other person I knew that my job that wasn't in WFG already. So that's kind of the long version, but I tell you that because when somebody's looking for this opportunity, you don't have to sit there and convince them. You understand? Like there's people like me. I was like, I felt like it was just like the best thing that ever happened to me, you know? And I actually left school 3 months in. Right? And imagine, I was sitting there going to school, and I'm going to school for business. Some of you guys could relate, because I think you did this. I left everybody I knew. And I left everything I knew, and I'm living on my own, and by now my boyfriend, which is my husband, had moved out, and like moved to California. So he left everybody too, right? So that I could pursue this dream in fashion. And now I'm at like $40,000 in student loan debt just from FIDM. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to quit this. I'm done with this. I'm going to go full board with WFG. And can you imagine what happens at that point when your family members hear that? Yeah? Can you imagine some of you had this happen? Imagine you just started the business and you're just showing up to BPM and you're getting naysayers. You didn't leave, right? The state to come here for that. And then you think I had naysayers? Yes or yes?
Yes.
Fortunately, I don't listen to anybody, right? Especially my family, about what they think about what I do with my life. So that worked out okay because it didn't really bother me. I actually could care less. In fact, I was just thinking like Isabel, like, well, I'm going to help them. They don't know what they don't know, right? So anyway, what ended up happening, years later, we moved to Colorado. We moved back, and we started to raise our family there. And just so those of you that are new know, we've been raising our kids in WFG. One of my kids is here right now, for the past 13 years. So my daughter's 13 years old. I actually retired my husband, not on purpose. It's not like as fancy as it sounds when you say you retired your husband, because he did deliver pizzas. So if you can imagine, he didn't make that much money. So it made more sense for him to stay home than it did for me, number one. Number two, he actually used to do mortgages back when we used to do it here. So I thought, oh, you can do that from home. I'll go see clients, right? He's an introvert. I'm not. So it made sense. Well, we had more babies after that, right? So we have a 13-year-old, we have an 8-year-old, and we have a 3-year-old. I'm like, well, how old are they? So all those kids, one of us has been home full time, and then pretty much me like part time, I would say, right? Been there raising our kids. We actually homeschool our kids as well. Lori, do you homeschool now as well? So we homeschooled my daughter Brooks, and she was in 1st grade. And then she's 13 now, so she's going into 8th grade. And we've been doing that and this business at the same time. Okay, so 7 years ago we moved back to California, and started our business all over from scratch in the old Corona office, right? And we started in a little cubicle, and then we moved up, and now, actually it's kind of cool. I was just thinking about this on the way here. We have several offices from our SMDs have several offices now. And we just opened an office in Canyon Lake where we live now. So we've been able to really just design our life through this business like what I wanted. Not as fast as I wanted, I will tell you. Not as fast as I wanted, because now I'm already 37, right? But imagine growing up in this business and being able to like take care of your family, raise a family, and do what you want the way you want it, and be able to like live in different states, do all these amazing things while you're doing this business. You guys imagine that? Yeah. You know, it doesn't have to be, and I always tell people, because sometimes you guys beat yourself up for taking so long in the business. You know, you don't have to be like the fastest, you just have to enjoy the process. Do you understand? I really, really, really love my freedom. That's actually the number one thing I love about this business. I don't want to be told what to do. I don't want anyone telling my kids what to do. At any time, in a lot of different ways, right? So here, it allows me to have that freedom, and I want you guys to understand some of the things that have allowed that to happen. But there's people out there like me that want this business so bad, and they're willing to do whatever. You guys understand that? That's like, for me, if I could find another me, I'd be pretty fired up, actually. I would say two. I found quite a few. Actually, Liz is here from, she has an office in Orange. Say hi. So she opened an office in Orange, and she's been in the business 5 years, I think, right? So we found some SMDs that are independent, that are running their own independent offices, right? And then we finally were like, okay, we should probably do it because they're already doing it, right? So we opened an office in Canyon Lake just a couple months ago in June. So I don't know if you guys know where that is. It's kind of far from here. But in June we opened. You guys went to Fast Start School, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're like, I walked. No, my husband took the boat. Remember? He took the boat to Fast Start, and I walked that day. It was like 9 minutes to walk. So yeah, he took the boat there. So now I was telling Dean, I have to get a golf cart, right? Because I'm like so low level without a golf cart, and I can take a golf cart to my office because it's 3 minutes away. So I'm so doing that. You guys are gonna see it on Instagram. Trust me, I just gotta find the right one. Because I was telling you, you can get like a $40,000, $50,000 golf cart. Did you guys know this?
Yeah.
My neighbor has a Bentley golf cart.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I don't even know why. I've never seen them ride it before. I think they just park it in the front, and I just like, take pictures of it. I'm like, oh, okay, this is what it's supposed to look like. It's not what mine's gonna look like, the first one, right? I'm gonna be throwing kids on it and stuff, and then we're gonna go to the golf course. But you know what's so cool? Being that my kids are homeschooled, do you know what they get to do? They get to go boating, right, during the day, because we have a dock right in the back of our house. They get to go boating, they get to go, swimming. I mean, they get to go play golf, like the golf course. My son's learning golf right now. He's 8. And it's just stuff that I just think is so cool. And the reason why we moved there was because they're so bored sometimes, because you don't really have to homeschool for very long, right? You know, like very, very little amount of time. The rest of the time they just need to get their energy out. So imagine that's what they get to do all the time, play on the sandy beach, all that stuff. And at the same time, I'm 3 minutes away. I can run into an appointment. I can do an appointment in my backyard, right? How cool is that? You can design it any way you want. Anybody here, right? This might be somebody's dream. Being in an office somewhere else might be somebody's dream. That was my dream, right? Actually, it was my husband's dream. But now I like it, so it's okay. I always dreamt of being a sugar mama. So I did that. Anybody else dream of that? No? All right. Some of you are my favorite, like Fitzroy, right? Some of I know you're mad right now. Fitzroy's been my favorite forever, right? Some of you I've known forever, but some of you, we don't know each other, right? But I want you guys to know there's so many great things that can come out of this business, but there's a couple things you have to focus on. Would you guys agree? Yeah. You're still my favorite too. Now I feel bad. So, here's a couple of things that we were talking about. One of them was what to do on a part-time basis. Okay, how many of you guys are part-time? Can I see your hand? I would argue that even the full-time people are probably part-time. I only say that because I am so majority of the time I feel like I work part-time. Maybe it's my full-time income, but I feel like I work part-time. Does anybody else full-time relate to that, or are you guys like grinding like crazy? I wish I could say I grind like crazy, but I don't. But I'm going to tell you something. When you're part-time, you just have to be effective. I want you guys to write that down. Your goal is to be effective. Okay? So let's talk about what I mean by this. Okay? I know Nate was here the other day, right? And he uses these probably like crazy. Does he?
Yeah.
Yeah. He usually does. I don't. I'm just using it because it's here. And I feel bad.
You already spelled it.
I do? All right, so how are you effective? So what I mean by effective, do you guys understand what I mean? What do you guys think I mean by effective?
Get it done.
What's that?
Making the most of your time.
Making the most of your time? Okay, what else?
Getting the outcome that you want.
That's those two things right there, that's what I'm going for. Vince, right? He brought me coffee though, I'm just saying. I'm just
It's like that? Okay.
Yes.
So, being effective with your time, getting the best outcome. I would agree with that very strongly because yes, you have to do the right things with your time, which we'll talk about. But I was telling somebody the other day, one of the teams, you could actually practice something over and over and over again. But if you practice it wrong, what are you going to do? You're going to do it wrong over and over and over again. So it's not necessarily the time. You guys ever notice, let me give you an example, right? Think about Dan Charlier, okay? Do you ever see Dan working? No. No, seriously, do you ever see him working?
Not anymore.
No, but even before, like, he would grind, but you wouldn't know it. He was so effective, and he's still so effective. You don't see him working because it's by design. You understand that? It's by design because he knows how to leverage his time. He knows a lot of the things in the business, and when he does work, he's super, super, super effective. The people that get results, that should be your goal. How do I get the best results with the situation that's in front of me, right? And your leaders are the only ones that can teach you how to do that. The ones that get results are the only ones that can teach you how to do that. I don't know about you guys, but do you want to spend your time working the business? And some of you do this, I've seen it. You're making calls. Most of you probably make more calls than me, right? You probably get more numbers. I know that for a fact, right? You might go on more appointments. Probably do. But you know what? You could do all that and do it all wrong and still not have any numbers. Has that happened to anybody here? Yes. That happened to me in the beginning. You know, in the beginning, it took a lot of failure for me to realize that I wasn't effective. Because I was sitting, in the wrong market. Most of the time, that's one way. That's kind of a typical thing that you see. But I didn't know I was ineffective until I compared my work and what I was doing to my numbers. Now, I can sit up here and tell you, it's okay, just keep grinding, it's going to work out, but that's a lie. Okay, you guys understand? It's not real. You can't just keep doing the wrong thing and expect that you're going to get a different result. Okay? So when you're producing or when you're going out there, you're seeing clients, you're prospecting, you're making calls, you have to become effective in order to get the positive result that you want. So the first thing I want to say to be effective, okay, and this is part-time or full-time, do you even know what your outcome is? And I mean this in several ways. What time is it? You guys have a clock in here? 8:16. Oh, okay. What time am I done? 8:50?
You have like 45 minutes?
Oh my gosh. Okay. Seems like a long time. Okay. What I mean by this is when I say outcome, I want you guys to write a couple things, okay? What's your outcome? Let's start with the first one. Your goal, okay? So again, who's part-time? Let me see your hands. I hope your number one goal is to get out of your job, yes?
Yes.
Okay, so replace your income. Now, if I want to replace my income, what do I need to do? I need to make money, yes?
Yes.
So should I be on appointments that are not going to generate income?
No.
Right? I'm not saying that you don't help people, Vivian. I would just throw it at Isabel. Why did I call you Vivian? Oh, I was looking right at you. No.
Alright, keep going.
Thank you. Thank you. So maybe you don't necessarily, what was my point? Effective appointment, what was it?
Make money.
Make money.
On the
Make some money.
appointment.
All right. Oh yeah, so we're gonna help people, but I'm gonna so the when you said you did the Roth IRA, that's awesome because I just saw a client the other day. I did a Roth IRA for her, but I also did an IUL because I gotta make money too, right? And also because she wanted it. I showed her both. I said, why don't we do partial in here, and these are the reasons why. She loved it. Boom, let's set it up, right? Because I'm gonna still make money.
Well, that's the reason why she couldn't, because anyway.
My point is,
That's why you said alternative number.
I get it. It's circumstances, right? But my point is that you have to be on appointments that are going to yield you to your outcome. So every appointment that you do, you have to ask yourself, what is the point? what is the point of this? And do they know the point of this? I see a lot of people that go on appointments and the person sitting in front of them doesn't know you're trying to close them. Because you set it up like, let's just talk about business and develop a relationship so we could refer people, right? I used to do that too when I was scared to say why I wanted to meet. Let me tell you, when somebody doesn't, when they want to meet with me, they know why we're meeting. If they don't know why we're meeting, we're not meeting. You understand? If I say, hey, let's meet so we can talk about your finances, I want to close you is what I'm saying. And I will say it like that if I have to. I don't say close, but I'm going to say, hey, I want to help you. That means when we get together, I'm going to have you bring in all your information so I can actually get the information I need so we can set up an account for you. I'm very, very specific. Okay? Do you guys like when people do that with you? Of course you do. You want to know why you're doing this. Like, I was meeting a lady for coffee today and I was telling Liz, I don't know why, I don't normally do appointments like this. I don't just go in blinded, right? Usually I'm just like, no, I'm not going. Like, I want to know why we're meeting. And if you ask me to meet, I'll say, why? What are we meeting for? No matter who you are. Like, I need to know what the purpose is. Right? So you guys have to be like that. I mean, think about it. Do you go to the doctor and you don't know why you're there?
No.
Does the doctor take an appointment, they don't know why you're there? They have an idea, because there's a nurse that comes in before and asks you a bunch of questions and screens you before you get in. There's actually a lot of people that screen you before you go in. You understand? Because they want to be effective with the little bit of time that they have. So you have to be clear in your outcome on every single appointment. What's my goal? Is it, and every single type of appointment has an outcome. Right? So you got to know it, then you got to teach it. Okay? So you got to know your goal as a person and why you're in the business, and it doesn't match. If I'm going to do this appointment with you, does it match my goal to get out of my job? Okay? So know your outcome. The second thing, how many of you have been here less than 6 months? Oh, good. Okay, good. So you should probably let people know your outcome, right? So tell people. You know, we have a girl on our team. How long has Lexi been in the business? Like 2 years, maybe? She's been in the business 2 years, okay? We've never met her parents. And she's, I don't know how old she is, maybe 26, something like that. Is she, how old is she? Younger? Oh, she's so mature. 23? So, 23. She's never brought her parents around. Now, she talks about them all the time. She even lived with them when she first got in the business. You know, we've never, in 2 years, you know who's the first people you guys talk to, especially young people? Young people, old people, whatever. You talk to your parents, right? That's when some of the first people, either your parents or your kids, that's usually who the first people are. She didn't bring them around, right? Well, you know why? Number one, she didn't believe in the business enough. That was the main reason why. But imagine, she didn't tell people what her outcome was. Do you think she could have been promoted a lot faster if she would have brought her parents around? She's not even an associate yet. She's trying to shoot for her 3-3-30. So I'm not knocking her, because some of you guys have been in the business 2 years. You're not an associate yet. That's fine. But if you would actually do this and tell people, hey, I'm trying to get promoted. Do you know she just said to her parents, hey, I'm trying to get promoted. I need you to come down. They drove from Calabasas to come to BPM last night. 2 years. Do you know we could have sent somebody there? Right? She could have had her 3-3-30 done. But instead she spread it out because she didn't tell anybody about the business and what she was doing. Like, if you're embarrassed about the business, why are you here? If you don't think that it's a good thing, you shouldn't be here. I hope you don't just do things that you don't think are good and that you're embarrassed of. Right? If you don't want to tell people, there's a problem. Especially somebody you care about. Right? Oh, I thought you were raising your hand. This is super, super important. Okay? You got to tell everybody you know. So, and I'm going to give you an example. Part-time people, trust me, this works. Okay? When I moved, and I did this all in cold markets. You understand? I did this business cold when I moved here. When I moved back to Colorado, I didn't live where my family grew up. I grew up in Aurora. I actually did northern Colorado, okay, which is not where I'm from. So I started over there and actually ran an office there for 5 years, and then built a team there. And then I moved here again and knew only the people at WFG. Like, do you know who my emergency contact was when I moved here? For my daughter in 1st grade? Chris Wolf, Dan's assistant. She's the only person I knew in the office, so she was my emergency contact. Because they said I had to put something, I was like, I don't know anybody. And at the time, it was the same month Dan decided to move to LA, right? I was like, okay, thanks. He's like, over here, I'm going to work with you, and then he took off. I was like, great. That was my emergency contact, so I didn't know anybody. So I know how to do this in a cold market. But every single person, when I was in Colorado, when I moved back to Colorado, I'll give you an example. I had family there, and I said, hey, especially to my family, right? I'm like, I I need your help. Some of you guys don't want to ask for help. It's in your script for a reason. You know what people want to do? They want to help you. Especially if you're the type of person that WFG attracts, which is the ones that help people all the time. You're helpers, you're givers. So when I say, I need your help, they're like, yeah, sure, anything. Look, I just moved back here. I don't really know anybody. You know, I'm actually looking for some people. Let me tell you what I'm looking for. You know your sister? She's like super cool and outgoing. I'm going to talk to her about my business. Okay? I don't just say, give me a number. If you know somebody, if somebody comes to mind, that's like the worst way to get referrals. You guys know that? I've done it the wrong way, so trust me. Because she's like, I don't know. Nobody's coming to mind. They're drawing a blank. But when I say your sister, she's like, oh yeah, my sister is energetic. My sister is outgoing. She does hate her life. She does hate her job or whatever. You don't even have a sister, do you? You know each other? Oh, you do? Okay. Two sisters?
The brother and sister.
Oh, okay. I don't know why I thought that. Maybe because you're so close to your mom. Maybe that's what I was thinking. So I would ask her specifically about her sister. And then I would be like, hey, and by the way, you know how I work in the financial business? Does your mom, like, has she ever had anybody sit with her to help her with retirement? Because, you know, I want to get my name out there. Maybe I can meet with her and kind of show her. Maybe she can, you know, see if it's for her. But if not, at least she knows what I do, right? I want to get my name out there. Do you think she's going to give me those names?
Yeah.
If she cares about me, she will. Do you know, I have no problem asking for help, but it's specific help, right? So when I did that in Colorado, guess what? The people I love the most, especially my parents, I was like, Mom, where's your church directory? She grabbed it, I was like, let me see it. I'm like, who's this person? Tell me about him, right? Tell me about him. I was like creating a top 25. Let me talk to them. What should I talk to them about? The business or client, right? Some of you guys don't have that pool of people. My sister sat her down and I was like, hey, remember that kid that was super nerdy, right? What's he doing now? Right? I was like, what about this person? What do they do? Where do they live? And I'm asking all these questions. And now it's even better because we have social media, right? Which I'll talk about in a second. So you guys have to reach out to people and give them specific people, even if you've been in the business a long time. Do you guys know that's what I'm doing right now in Canyon Lake? Like we actually, it's so funny because we don't even have pictures on the walls. I just bought a frame today. I'm pretty proud of that. I actually went in a store and bought something for the first time in a really long time. I was like, what am I doing in a store? But I had some time to kill, so I bought a frame for the office. We don't have pictures on the walls at all. We barely got chairs. We were using fold-out chairs, like for about the first month for my house. I was like, okay, we'll get chairs eventually. I don't care about that. Make sure there's people in the chairs, and then we'll have them. Because we need people here. That's all I care about. So I said, why don't you guys look at everybody you know in this area, right? Temecula, Marietta. We're going to have this conversation with them. We just opened an office. Who do you know? Who do you know? So I was doing a one-on-one yesterday with these people that work at the restaurant that some of you guys went to. And he was like, yeah, it's so cool. I can tell this is like a startup. I was like, what? Why? Because I didn't even think about it. He's like, oh, there's no pictures on the walls. I was like, we're going to get there. He's like, no, it's awesome. He's like, I could be a part of it before the pictures go up, right? I'm like, yes, you're right. It's so cool. People want to be a part of stuff like that, right? So are you reaching out to everybody you know and telling them your goal? What if you did, right? What if you did? Worst case, they know what you do. You're not really bothering them. You're just telling them because you're excited that you're going for a promotion. Do you think your grandma wants to know? Yes, she does. She wants you to call her. She doesn't care if you tell her about your promotion you're going for. Your brothers, your sisters, all these people, they're excited to hear good news. All they hear is negative news all the time. And you tell them, hey, I'm super excited. I'm up for a promotion. Not in a bragging way. You're just saying, hey, I'm excited. And hopefully you can help me. Or they actually will ask you, no way, that's so cool. So do you guys let people know, or are you just so nervous about the words, right? This is a part-time heaven, right? You get to tell people part-time. You don't even have to posture. You're not like, I'm an S&B now. I don't have to say that. You just tell them, hey, I opened an office. I'm excited. She's been using that for, they've been open for a year. And she's still grand opening it, right? Grand opening every week, right? Every business, yeah, every business around you. It's a new grand opening. Yeah, I was in Corona. You guys remember where we used to do like all of our appointments before the office opened at Hidden Valley right there? You know, on the 15, and they turned the Walgreens that was there into a Dollar Tree. And it was kind of like a like run down a little bit. Well, the Dollar Tree wasn't, but like the area now is like kind of run down. I've been there a long time, but they have like balloons up. Everyone's like, wow, Dollar Tree is like so proud. They're like fired up. There's balloons, grand opening, all this stuff. Every business, right? It's not strange, but your grand opening, nobody knows. You're like a secret agent. Nobody knows what you do, right? Is that going to serve you in business, by the way? No, it's not going to serve you in business. So you need to tell people, okay? And I would encourage your supporters, not necessarily random people. I don't really get that. energy to the business or to the office here? Who?
Yeah.
Sam? Who's Sam?
Sam's that?
Oh.
I
Sam.
don't have the result yet, but I
What do you mean he brings the most energy? What does that mean? What do you guys think that means?
He's positive.
So he's excited?
Yeah.
Always.
Okay. When I say energy to your business, what do you guys think I mean? Who's about to come up? Results? Huh?
Enthusiastic.
Accountability.
I would argue that you probably bring the most energy. Not in your energy, but I see him all the time promoting this office. You know that? Who else promotes the office? Who? Jeanette? Do I follow you? Are you on Instagram? Oh, maybe not. Maybe I need to, right?
Yeah.
Fitzroy, actually, he does some funny stuff on Instagram too. Yeah? Do you guys know, I was so excited to come here because of what they're posting. I was like, oh, this is so cool, because he does those funny things where they're picking on Ricky all the time. Which I think is hilarious. Right? But it's so intriguing. Do you know how many people have messaged me, or I see them texting, they'll start liking my posts, and then those are the people that I start to communicate with, right? That I start to message because I see that they like it. What kind of energy are you creating around your business? Or do people even know that you're in business? Like, I have so many people coming out of the woodworks, like messaging me because we opened the office in Canyon Lake. Let me tell you about this office. It's like 900 square feet. It's like nothing. It's like this room. I think. Is this bigger than 900 square feet? I don't really know. I signed the lease before I knew I saw it, right? My husband saw it, and I was like, whatever, it's 3 minutes away. I can take a golf cart. Let's sign it. I don't have to drive to Corona anymore. I don't care. It's like this big, but if you actually see it like on Instagram or the way we talk about it, you probably think it's a big office. So all these people are like, we want to come to your office. I'm like, okay, well I could show you a picture and you'll see the whole thing. It's like right here. And we have a nice little backyard too. That's kind of cool. Imagine, but we're creating energy around it. And when I go and I meet with somebody to recruit them, because I want to get them to go to the Corona BPM, to go to a big environment, which we're going to talk about, I'm talking to them about that. I'm like, man, you know what, this office, our goal is to grow it like this office, right? I tell them about Corona, what it's going to look like, what we're building towards, and I'm creating energy around it, right? Do you guys know that energy is what recruits people? For those of you that are part-time, if you didn't know, that's why we do the MoZone. So if it works in the MoZone, why wouldn't it work otherwise? It's energy. That's what recruits people. Is your energy? I even told Warner one day, I said, I almost called you Trejo. I think I called you Trejo for like the first few days I knew you. I told him, I said, hey, help me with my Instagram, because I like his colors and his themes and stuff like that, because I have no ego. I'm like, hey, help me. I want to make it better. Which I don't think you ever did. Right? I'm like, help me with this. And you guys have him here. You have people here that know what they're doing. If Sam's creating energy, well, what energy is he putting to the people that don't have code numbers? Right? Because you guys are already recruited. And hopefully you're already clients. So what about all the other people that are out there? Because it may not be for them right now, but they're watching what you're doing. I can't tell you how many people have messaged Liz and said, hey, I saw your office in Orange, and they weren't ready 2 years ago, and they've been watching, and now they're ready. You guys see that?
Yeah.
And they want to see if you stick with it, too. Yeah. They want to see if you stick with it. Oh, man, I'm going to run out of time. Okay. Is this helping at all?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Just say yes if you're new, because,
Yes.
let's go with it. All right. I'm going to skip to a couple more things on the part-time thing. Your daily disciplines. Again, being effective with your daily disciplines. You guys hear about this all the time, so I don't have to go into a lot of detail. I just want to mention something. Don't make excuses about when you can do your daily disciplines. You know, I was in the car when I got here making phone calls, because there was people that I called this morning when I was in the office after my first appointment. By the way, my husband's out of town, so I've got 3 kids on my hands too. So I'm doing this like running. I mean, you should see me last night chasing the boys, because my daughter had a play rehearsal, right? So anyway, so I was in the car making calls, because some of the calls I made this morning, they were working, and they asked me to call them after 6. So I'm in my car. I didn't make an excuse that my 8-year-old's in the car. I didn't care that I had to be in here because I knew I had time. I was like, let me just bust out a few of these calls real quick, because that's what I have. And on the way here, I stopped and picked up a rollover check that the lady had got. We did the call over the phone. I was like, hey, I knew when I was going to be here. I didn't drive from Canyon Lake all the way up there to pick it up on a different day. I drove today because that's where I was going to be. You guys understand?
Right.
Or I would have had somebody else do it. But I finally got her to answer her phone. Right? So I feel like the daily disciplines, not just the work of the business, but again, the effectiveness of the work that you're supposed to do. So yes, you're going to do it. There's no question. You know you have to make phone calls. You know you have to sit and go on appointments. You know you have to talk to people. But are you making excuses so that you don't do it? Are you being effective with your time? Right? I know for a fact there's a lot of people even in my office, and it's very small. You can't really BS too much in our office because it's so small. But I do know there's a lot of that going on when I'm not there. That's fine. But I always tell my team, hey, the results will show that. But if you're at least going to do that, then do something meaningful, like spend time with your family. Right? If you're going to BS, like, yeah, you can do it a little bit, but like go do something like, you know, that feeds your hobby, or, you know, you're giving to the community like what you guys are doing with Relay, or, you know, do something else, invest in your kids or whatever, if you're not going to be working on your business. You guys think that they would like that, by the way? Yeah. So be effective with your daily disciplines. Not just doing them, but doing them no matter what. No matter what the situation. Like when I have to run out of my house because my client finally called me back and I have to, any moms in here that do this business, and your 3-year-old's running after you, right? And I'm like, stop, because they hear the phone ringing, and of course they want to talk to you. So I'm running out to the garage so I can have a conversation, or, you know, somewhere where the kids aren't. Like, I don't make an excuse to not answer. I'm just like, okay. And I tell them, hey, sorry, my 3-year-old's running after me. Give me 1 second. They don't care. They know it's real, right? They have kids. They understand. When my 13-year-old's probably been on more appointments than everybody in here. Seriously, she goes on appointments all the time. My 8-year-old too, not my 3-year-old. I'm not even gonna try that. But there's an age where I'm grouping them, right? To be a BPM and to be going to events and things like that. So you have to be disciplined, because how else are you gonna do this, right? All right. Now let's talk about accountability, the one you don't want to hear about. You know what? I think there's different ways to have accountability. You guys know we have accountability sheet. Obviously, that's basic, right? I'm not going to talk about that. But I am going to tell you should use it. And you should use it with somebody who's good at this business, not your, you know, friend that started at the same time as you. That's not good at the business. Use the accountability sheet, but get feedback from your mentor about what needs to be adjusted, okay? Not necessarily what you're doing. You guys know what you're supposed to do, unless you're super, super full-time. Then you wish you had an orientation class today, right? But you've been in the business long enough to know that those are the things you're supposed to do, okay? We don't need to tell you that. You're already beating yourself up because you didn't do it. But when you do it, what kind of feedback are you getting? Okay, I did 10 one-on-ones and no results came out of it. Okay, let me hear your one-on-one. Let me see your one-on-one. Or let me find out, what is it that you're saying to these people? Are you talking all about yourself? Are you listening to them? Are you not following up? What is it that's happening? And they can't understand that if they don't have any numbers to work with. I think Christopher is one of the best in the business. But some of you guys don't, when it comes to accountability and holding you accountable, but some of you guys don't have access to Christopher yet. Maybe you haven't earned it just yet, right? Would you guys agree with that?
Yeah.
So you got to find somebody who has a vested interest in you, okay? Not somebody who doesn't. Let me be clear on that. Why do I want somebody who has a vested interest in me?
Because they were gonna win if you win.
There you go. Liz said they're going to give you the best advice. Would you guys agree?
Yes.
If they're smart, right? If they want to make money, they are. Why do you, okay, because some people come to me and, hey, can we like do this and that? Yeah, but I'm not going to give 100% of the effort. I wish I could say that I was. But I mean, let's be real. Can we just be real? I wish I could say I could give all my energy to people that aren't on my team. I really wish I would. But I got kids, right? And I gotta live in Southern California. So I actually have to like pay attention to things that affect my business, right? Then that make me money. So helping somebody doesn't mean I won't do it, but I'm not gonna put the same effort in as your own upline. Your upline's gonna put in effort. And your upline's upline will put in effort if your upline won't do it. Somebody in that lineage is going to help you, okay? And it should stay that way because why? Your SMBs, your MDs want the best for you because they make the most money. So you gotta go to them. Even if you don't like them, right? I know, it's hard to believe. There's people on our teams that don't like us. Do you know, I found out the other day, there's people that don't like Christopher. They didn't tell me because they would have, you know, ghetto Natalie would have came out. But they didn't tell me. But he told me, he's like, yeah, you know, there's this club that I hate Christopher. I was like, oh my gosh, I have the same club. Like, I did not know you had a club too. Turns out we all have a club, right? If you're a leader, you have a club. Whether you know it or not, you do, right? You know why? Because they want to blame you for their lack of success. So guess what? I don't care if you want you to succeed, even if they don't like you too. I have teammates that they're not my favorite, and they know it, right? Because I don't really hide that. But I will tell you, I want them to win. You guys understand?
Yeah.
So they listen to me because they know, okay, she's pretty good at this business, I should listen to her. Yeah? So accountability, right? And the right ways to do accountability. Feedback. And then the last thing I'll touch on for part-time people and full-time people, I said it was the last thing, but this one I can't pass by, is associations. Okay? You think your associations don't affect you? Look at your paycheck. I think people don't understand this enough. I still work, I need to work on this myself every day. But I realized, do you know what happened? Do you know when I was in Colorado, I didn't even have my read, right? So I've been in this, I'm one of those people like late bloomers in the business, you know? Like it took me forever to get my ring. I probably hold the record. I want to have Jeff, or what's his name, Great Cap story, right? He's like, Jeff Levitan got his ring in a year, and it took him like, I forget how many years, I don't know. That's me. I don't even know. 2013, and I got in the business in 2004. So how many years is that? 9 years? How sad, right? 9 years to get my $100,000 ring. But you know what's crazy? I was in Colorado, and I didn't have my ring, right? I think the most I'd ever made was 90. And then I came here, got 100 and up to 250 just this past year, right? But not because it's me, right? Obviously, God's taking care of me, okay? Don't get me wrong, and placed me here. But associations, I upgraded my associations. Guess who I was associating with in Colorado? Myself. What just happened? Oh. Like, what the hell? It was like emergency or something.
You see yourself, so.
You guys are so fun. I was already texting Alyssa, let's put up most guests and all that stuff you had on there, and now I'm getting a doorbell. 2 minutes, that's smart, right? So nobody has to run in. I'm like, 2 minutes. You gotta let your guests know, though. Well, I don't even know what I was talking about. Oh, associations, right? So I moved here, and all of a sudden, I'm associating with these people. By the way, all my friends in the business passed me, so I was like, still associated with them, but they were like, you know, $500,000 already, and I'm over here like trying to get my ring, starting over again. But I knew that I couldn't stay just associating with me. And you think associating has to do with just being in the business? Do you know associating outside of the business, right? You think you're just hanging out, you're literally picking up their mindset. Whether you want to or not, the more uncomfortable you are around your leader, the better. Because you want to be where they're at. So it's funny because you have some people that really, really get this. Like, who hangs out with Christopher the most in here? This one, right? You know how I know? Because when we were at Fast Start School, okay, I don't even know who he is, and he comes up, well, we saw him on stage. Then he comes up to me, did I know? I don't think I know who you were. And then he's like, hey, can I go on your boat? And I was like, okay. I was like, come on, let's go. So him and Louie got on the boat that night and went to my house, right, with a bunch of us. And they're like, who's this guy? Remember? Everyone's like, who's he? I was like, I don't know. I'm like, but they asked, so I'm like, ask and you shall receive, right? So they're at my house, and like some of our team is there, my kids, and I had no idea who they were. And then they were telling me about how he spends all the time with Christopher and how he really wants to meet Louise, and we're texting Louise like, look, this guy wants to meet you. Did she ever say anything to you? She knows who you are now?
She likes someone like that.
Yeah, okay. Because he will like, you know, bug you forever until you start talking to him. So, I mean, I really admire that because I told him, I was like, man, you have some guts. Like, and then I think you were back at my house the next day for my son's birthday party. I was like, you gotta come back over, we're having a party. So I had his nephew, right? Yeah, he was still there, I don't know. I left and he went and picked up his nephew, right? And I mean, I admire that because I don't think I would, and that's what I think is so cool. Like, I wouldn't have the guts to like go up to somebody and be like, hey, can I come on your boat? Like, not just anybody, right? I mean, maybe me because I think I'm pretty cool, but like, you know, some random people might be like, whoa, who are you? But I think most leaders respect it. Most leaders are like, wow, that's so cool. And guess what happened? His nephew went and got to go on the boat the next day, got to go around the lake, and he was like, I want to have a house like this for mom someday. And his nephew was like, sold the dream, you know? But then he didn't understand association. I invited him one day, he didn't show up, so he hasn't been invited since. He hasn't been invited since. Now he's got to prove himself, right? But I say that because sometimes let's do it. Like, I drive from wherever I'm at. If Dan's like, come to my house, bring your team. Like, we go. And we go all the way to Beverly Hills. You know I hate going to LA. Like, hate it with a passion. Like, hate it. And then on top of that, we're talking about traveling, usually with my kids, and hours on the freeway. Like 3 hours from where I live now. Like, that's like horrific. And then there's always like construction, going to LA on the weekend. But do you know how much I spend more time on the freeway one way than I do with him? But I do it because I'm like, you know what? That's my leader, right? And I know that I'm going to pick up so much value. Sometimes you don't even realize you're picking it up. You have no idea what's happening, okay? So how's the other way you upgrade your associations? And you know it's coming because I know that Christopher talks about it all the time. Huh?
Reading books.
Nah. It helps. It helps. How about coming to the meetings? Yeah? What do you guys think about that? Does that help?
Yeah.
Do you know that we are products of the meeting?
Yeah.
Can you tell me that the meeting will affect you if you let it? Okay, first of all. Second of all, every leader that's successful here, we literally have been to hundreds of meetings. Like, I'm thinking back in my career, I'm like, just this week I was like Saturday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you know, then again Saturday, next week I'm doing the same thing because I'm going to Tita's office, right? So like, we're like at all these meetings, do you think it's not going to get in your head? After all that time? Why do you think, like, okay, let me just soapbox you for a second, right? I don't know if that's the right terminology, but why do you think kids are so trained in school, right? Literally like robots, right? Why do you think they're producing robots in school? Because they've got them for more time than you do. 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. That's why no matter what you tell your kids, the teacher tells them something else or the school system tells them something else, it's hard for you to combat it. Because they're with them more than you. They're in the environment more than you. The environment will change you way faster than anything else. That's why when I moved here, the associations and the environment changed me. I literally started producing more. The little 10 calls I thought I was doing a day, that was a good thing. Those 10 calls compared to everybody else that I was around was nothing here, right? The like 2 appointments I ran in a day and I was all fired up. There's people here doing that in, 20 minutes. So everything about the environment changed who I was. So if you don't think you need it, you're 100% wrong, okay? So I'm preaching to the choir because you guys are here, but are you here at every BPM? Or do you make excuses to come to BPM? BPM, I tell my team, is just like part of the job description, right? Big events and BPM is part of job description. So if I work a job, you know I have to show up, right? Wherever I go, wherever I work. If some of you guys work a job, where do you work? Give me a job.
Teacher.
Hospital? Call center? What if you don't show up? You shake your head. He says, I'm fired. Yes, you're fired. You have to show up. You understand? You can't make the call center calls from home. They don't trust you like that. Right? We literally have to show up. And guess what it does for your team when you show up? What do you think? They show up. You know why there's less people here tonight than usual? It's because Christopher's gone. Even though he's here religiously, right? When he's gone, there's still going to be less people. You think your teammate's not going to do that? He's Christopher. He's Christopher, and they're doing it to him. He's like, known throughout the company. He's Ed Bella's brother-in-law, for God's sakes, right? He's like Dan's right-hand guy. Come on. And people still do the same thing. They don't show up. So if that happens to him, imagine what your team's going to do. You're like, no, they're serious, they're committed. They're not. You got to show up and show the way and be the right leader, right? And then, by the way, you're going to do what? You're going to get somebody to go, and then you're going to teach them the mentality and the mindset so that they get somebody to go. You know how obsessed I am with butts and seats? I was counting yesterday because we had 51 people at the BPM, not at ours, associates, but at the different offices. We all reported how many associates we have, right? Maybe it was more. I think it was 51. But it's usually between 50 and 60 at every BPM, right? And I'm like, I want to get that number. I want to pop that number, right? I want to pop it to 75. I want to pop it to 100 because I've been stuck there for a while. And then, you know what gets stuck when that happens? Your cash flow. Your cash flow gets stuck. Because what does the BFS say about butts and seats? Same as your apps, right? So if I have 10 butts and seats, I have 10 apps I'm going to do that month, my base shop. Some of you guys are better at producing, so you beat the odds, so therefore you don't understand the correlation. But over time, when you don't want to have to write all the business in your business, which is where I want to go, right? I want to not be the #1 producer every month, right? I want that to work out in my favor. You guys get that?
Yes.
So butts and seats are so much more important than you probably think. But I always did one thing, and I'll tell you guys, but we'll do some Q&A. I always understood one thing, and I hope you do. If my leader's doing it, the one who's the most successful in the business, not the guys who aren't successful, okay? Don't do what they do, right? If the most successful people are here, then wouldn't it make sense that I show up? If I want their results. You guys hear the saying, like everybody wants to go to heaven, but nobody wants to die? Right? So everybody wants Christopher's life, but they don't want to show up to BPM on Tuesday and Saturday. Do you know why your family asks you? Like I had a guy yesterday telling me, because you know they tell me because they know I'm going to text them. He's like, hey, I got this going on tonight, blah, blah, blah. I was picking up somebody from the airport. Do you dare think my family asked me if I could pick them up from the airport? I actually had a cousin move here for a hot minute, and like literally 2 months. And she asked me to take her to the airport one day, right? Which, first of all, no. I'm not going to LA. I will sooner pay for an Uber than I will do that. But second, I know it sounds mean, but it's not. I think it was kind of mean for her to ask. Because it's not like she needed it, she just was asking, like, I don't know, I don't really understand that. It's not like somebody who really, really needed it, you know what I mean? She had money, so I didn't understand why she was asking me that. But, like, she asked me on a Tuesday. I was like, well, no, it's Tuesday, right? I have a meeting tonight. Do you know why they ask you? Because you say yes. Because you don't take the meeting seriously, because you allow things like that. Maybe not you, but maybe your teammates. You allow it. So they know it's okay. You know that my mom to this day won't even call me on a Saturday morning. She'll text me, can you call me when your meeting's over? Because she knows I'm not answering. Like my mother, my kids, like if my daughter texts me right now, I will have a fit. Because it's got to be an emergency, because then I think it's something serious, right? She must tell me something about anime. I'm mad. Right? I'm like, I'm in the meeting. Do not text me. Because they know better. But is it that serious to you guys? Right? Does your family know it's that serious? And if they did, I could guarantee you they'd be interested in being in the business with you. Because they go, wow, you're serious about this. This must be good. But if you let whatever the wind take you, get you out of BPM, you guys know there's times where, like, I mean, I've been about to deliver a baby in BPM. I've been with the baby that I just delivered in BPM, ×3. Right? You've seen it, right? Most of you guys have been around that long. You've seen me with babies. Okay? Or I have the kids running. Yesterday, you know, I did the GT with my kids in the back, being crazy, like crazy. Imagine boys stuck in a van for hours. And then they came out, and I was doing an interview, and they were running around like psychopaths. And I'm chasing them, and by the time I got home, after I cleaned up the office and everybody left, I cleaned it, did all this stuff, got home, they're like knocked out in their seats in the back. And then I'm talking to Dan for 40 minutes, right? I literally went in my house at midnight because they were in the car in the back, and I was just like talking to him, because I finally had some silence, right? No excuses. I wasn't like, oh, I gotta stay home because I don't have a babysitter, right? That wasn't it. I take it that seriously. Do you take it that seriously, right? You guys are here. But if you took it that seriously, would you accept excuses from your team?
No.
When they say, I don't have anyone to watch my kids. Or, I just had a C-section, right? Would you accept, I gotta pick up somebody from the airport. You won't accept those excuses from them anymore. You guys understand? So it's kind of important. Would you guys agree?
Yes.
Remember, if the leader's doing it, you gotta do it. That's the basics. All right, who has questions? Who has things you want to know?
You mentioned, Natalie, that you come into different towns, and I've witnessed it, and when cold, you go cold, you get warm. How long did it take you to get out of the cold and get into warmer?
I mean, I guess I'm still pretty cold for the most part, because I recruit everybody, so, or they become my clients. I don't know, a month maybe? A month before you get a couple recruits that you're getting now a top 10, a top 25. Did you guys hear his question? How long were you cold before you went warm? So I didn't do resume calls or anything like that. I just did, your standard, like, talking to people, meeting them, asking somebody for a referral. Like, I did want to actually mention this. So a lot of you guys are on Instagram and Facebook and all that, but you're, like, posting stuff expecting people to message you, right? You're like, hey, who wants an opportunity? And then nobody messages you, right? Maybe they do, I don't know. But I actually am more intentional than that. So I kind of look and see what they're doing, and then from there I might message them personally. So I did a lot of that actually when I moved here. So when I was moving to California, I would look on at the time, it was just Facebook, because we didn't have Instagram, I was looking back at Facebook and I would see where did they live, right? And I would see where they were from, okay? So you have people that were from California that lived in Colorado. A lot of people did that. They moved and, you know, they would buy acres for what they buy their little tiny house for here. And they moved from California, so that I would message them, say, hey, I forgot that you're from California, or I saw you're from California. I'm moving out there. Who do you know out there? Because I'm looking for this. I saw, you know, your so-and-so lives there. I like stalk people. I still stalk people. Even Dean was that we were talking about a client, and he goes, oh, she hasn't got back to me. I go, yeah, she's out of town. Let me show you. I saw today. I was looking. Before I call, if I know somebody travels a lot, I look, and I'm like, okay, or they're not getting back to me, I check and see where they are, right? Because I know. You have, you know, I just thought it was funny. It was Corona. You know? Like, I'd never been here before. Some of you guys have been here your whole lives, and you don't have people to call. It's crazy to me. But if I recruit Jeanette, then I'm going to talk to everybody she knows, right? And if she quits, I'm going to have a team built underneath her. That's fine. She can quit if she wants to, right? But I also knew how to use the matchup system to help with that too, with the warm market, or with the cold market. I promoted myself a lot. So, what other questions do you guys have?
With your, no, sorry, go ahead. With your accountability, how did that look like with Dan when you were trying?
You know what? Dan doesn't do your standard accountability. Like, you might send him your accountability numbers. He doesn't look at them, right? You're laughing because it's true. I know he doesn't look at them, and it's fine because it's for me. It's not for him, right? So you're writing it down. You send it because you know you're sending it to your leader. Whether they look at it or not, that's not really the thing. But sometimes accountability is them knowing what you need, not the other way around. So you think you know, but they know. So they will engage you in whatever they need to engage you in because of what you need at that moment. So I think that it's key to know that your leader knows that you just got to stay in their face a little bit, which I don't need to tell you that. But you have to also, because you probably become parent deaf, because you know you spend a lot of time with Christopher, then you have to figure out and ask him, who should I seek out for extra accountability, right? Only because you get parent deaf, right? I was so parent deaf to whatever Dan would say, I didn't even know until I moved. I didn't know how parent deaf I was because I heard from him every BPM, every day. If I wasn't in the office, where you at? Like, you know, like he was so like in my dish all the time that I didn't realize that it was a good thing. You know? What I like about, so